Sorry about that. There's no need to be alarmed. That was just my BS detector. It goes off whenever I'm in the vicinity of BS. And it's particularly sensitive to political BS, which basically is what Congressman Chaffetz's letter is full of. Alright, so it's basically common knowledge that money collected through taxes goes directly to the government. A theoretical spike in energy prices does not fit that definition. Okay, I can understand a certain line of reasoning apropos to the relationship between government action and changes in the unit price of goods or services. If the government goes forward with cap-and-trade legislation, it may very well result in a rise in energy costs for consumers. But to call that surge in costs a tax is misleading at best, because that extra money does not go directly to the government. It doesn't fit the definition of the word tax. Now, there is a secondary definition to the word tax: a burdensome charge, obligation, duty, or demand. A rise in energy costs could certainly be seen as a burdensome charge, but that is not the definition that's being implied by Congressman Chaffetz or his Republican colleagues. They even refuse to refer to cap and trade by its proper name. Instead, they're calling it cap and tax, a term that can't be reconciled with what cap and trade actually means. Cap and trade, by its very definition, is an alternative to an actual carbon tax. Congressman Chaffetz also said that raising taxes would destroy our hope of recovering from the current recession. But there's another problem with his logic there. Even if cap and trade is implemented, it wouldn't go into effect by at least 2012. And everyone's hoping that the economy will be well into a full recovery by then. Mr. Chaffetz uses the word tax in his letter 12 times, referring to the mythical cap-and-trade tax policies, an energy consumption tax, new taxes, and a massive new tax increase. And of course, he even includes his numbers: the $3.01 billion tax on Utahns, $1,115.47 in new taxes on electricity alone. But what does he cite as the resource for his information? The table that he included in the letter, which clearly says annual increase in energy costs and has absolutely nothing to say about taxes. A rise in energy costs is only referred to twice in his letter. But Congressman Chaffetz's most notable claim is that this so-called tax goes against the president's promise not to raise taxes on 95% of Americans. This is basically a very carefully worded way of calling the president a liar. How can anyone read this letter and not think that Congressman Chaffetz is talking about a government-levied tax instead of just an increase in energy costs? I am by no means defending cap and trade. There are plenty of legitimate arguments to go against it, the rising cost to consumers being just one of them. However, a similar program to curb sulfur dioxide emissions was implemented under the 1990 Clean Air Act, and that's generally considered to have been a success, both economically and environmentally. Obviously, the final chapter on the benefits and drawbacks of cap and trade has yet to be written. My point is, Congressman Chaffetz and his Republican colleagues already have plenty of legitimate reasons to critique cap and trade. They don't need to resort to putting words in the mouths of the administration or shoehorning the word tax anywhere they see fit in a blatant attempt to try and scare their constituents into agreeing with them. Not to mention drawing the ire of conservatives who won't take the time to fact-check what their Republican representatives are saying. Ever since 9/11, Republicans have been getting things done by using fear as a motivator. They justified deficit spending that more than doubled our national debt in the name of keeping America safe, because if they didn't do it, the terrorists would come back. They used the same fear-mongering tactics in the elections of 2002 and 2004. They maintained control of both the executive and legislative branches by convincing the people that if they voted for the other party, that they ran the risk of being victims of yet another terrorist attack. In 2006, the American people started to catch on. They started to see just what Republican protection was costing them, both economically and morally. The final blow to the neoconservative movement came in 2008. You would think that Republicans would step back and realize that not only do scare tactics no longer work, they're ethically dubious at best. But instead, we're just getting more of the same. Only instead of trying to scare their constituents with terrorism, they've decided to pick a word from the conservative lexicon that's even more frightening. Taxes! I used to think that political parties existed to help people with similar ideals get organized so they can more effectively serve the public. But now I know that's not the case. All political parties want is power. And they want it for the sake of power, not for the sake of the people. I'm going to say something now to Congressman Chaffetz directly, but it'll apply to anyone else in Congress who's sent out similar letters to their constituents, especially the House Minority Leader. Jason, do you think we're stupid? Do you think that we are so incapable of understanding the simple facts of an issue that you feel the need to redress it in political rhetoric that has absolutely nothing to do with cap and trade? Or are you so incapable of presenting a logical argument that you feel you have to try and scare your constituents into supporting you? I thought you were smarter than that. I thought you had more respect for the intelligence of the people who elected you. If you have any shred of decency in you, you will follow up this collection of alarmist propaganda with an address to your constituents through the press and through your YouTube channel, presenting us just the facts and apologizing for trying to lie to us and mislead us when you could have just talked to us like the open-minded and intelligent people that we are. Jason, you're only 3 months into your first session of Congress, and it's actions like this that make you look like you've sold out. If Utah's 3rd District wanted to be represented by a Republican stooge who puts the party before the people and cares more about towing the GOP line than he does the interests of his constituency, we would have re-elected Chris Cannon.